So in this episode, we're finally replacing Beastie's worn out suspension bushings for Kingpin Machine spherical bearings. You can see I've got the body, the arrow stripped off. I'm going to show you why we're doing this, because I kind of investigated and it's pretty obvious. So here we're looking at the front control arm, the lower control arm. I'm applying a little bit of load to the wheels, and you can see it. And I'm talking a tiny bit of load, whatever I can do with my hand. You can see it moving in there, and that bolt is tight. It's just moving. So imagine doing that down the back straight at 21 miles an hour is the max. And the thing, I mean, under that kind of load with these brakes, it's going to be doing a lot more than that. So yeah, I'm very excited to get rid of that movement. And here's what's going in. Kingpin Machine does these. Really nice work. As a fellow welder, I can see good welding. Machining is not something I do, but I know the tolerances are extremely tight on these, and the bearing quality is through the roof. So basically take the stock control arms, core them out, do some machining, and recoat them. And replate them, technically, I think. Bolt them in. And as you can see, no bushings here to move. Also the uppers, those are going to get done. Since the hard race arms that we found had rubber bushings, so I figured we'd replace those. So front suspension will all be spherical bearing. Nothing should move. If it does, things are flexing, which may still happen. We'll find out. So I've got the control arm off. That came out pretty easy. Here it is. And that's just fantastic. So I'm throwing that in the garbage because I'm not dealing with that broken bolt. I'll order another one. On to the other side. Alright, we got the sphericals converted over to this. It's the upper control arm. Lower control arm turned out really well. Bolt it right back in. I'm also going to swap out springs on these bad dogs. You can see 3 packers in there. About 480 pounds a piece on average. Plus the 1,450 pound spring. We need a lot more spring and a lot less bump stop. So we're doing that next. I've gotten as far as I can. Since I broke this control arm, the new one will be here at some point this week. This upper control arm is converted to sphericals. This side's completely done. A little peek into the goodness that is RPS, carbon brakes. You can see the spherical bearings, freaking awesome. And yeah, for those asking, I daily drove this car for 3 years in Michigan. So, some light corrosion underneath it, nothing that a full body dip won't cure someday. This side's completely done. Ended up not being able to fit the 2,000 pound springs. A little bit tight on the perches, and I didn't want to mess with it today. So the next couple events we have are, well, we'll shake it down with I don't know, I think with proper wheel control we might not need as stiff of a spring as we thought. So the next step, I'll do a little video on the dyno because we still need to tune this larger Garrett. Yeah, and I'll get a pretty quick impression on that because I could not dyno the car above 6,000 RPM in fourth gear because it was a wild ride, which, if you can imagine the control arms hopping around like you just saw at 150 plus miles an hour on the dyno, it's no fun. So I'll check in a couple days as soon as I get this controller and we'll get this thing on the dyno, see if we can crack 600 wheel.